Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I'm the Bucks believer. Every year when we reach the playoffs in the NBA, one of the most interesting things to see is what each coach of each NBA team does in terms of their playoff rotation. Yesterday, against the Miami Heat in Game 1 of the first round of the NBA playoffs, Bucks coach Mike Budenholzer did not disappoint with his rotation, and I think that he did a nearly flawless job of running through the Bucks. Let's start by talking about each of the decisions he made about each of the important players on this team, and then at the end I'll give some potential adjustments that I could see him making. The biggest thing that I noticed in this game was that Coach Bud was clearly willing to play his starters big minutes. That's been a big critique of Coach Bud in the past, as we've seen playoff games where the Bucks lose narrowly, and Giannis and Chris are only playing about 34 to 36 minutes. Most Bucks fans view that as unacceptable and would much prefer those guys to be in the 40-minute range. That was the case in yesterday's game, as Chris Middleton played 44 minutes, Giannis Antetokounmpo played 45 minutes, and Jrue Holiday played 42 minutes. Each member of the Bucks' Big Three played 42 plus minutes. That data is a little bit extrapolated when you consider that this game went into overtime, but even without that extra 5-minute period, Chris played 39 minutes, Giannis played 40 minutes, and Jrue played 37 minutes. That is right around the sweet spot for where the Bucks should play those big three guys. So I think that was excellent coaching by Mike Budenholzer, and I hope that he continues to play his guys similar amounts of minutes as this series and the playoffs as a whole continue. The other two starters for the Bucks played heavy minutes as well, as Donte DiVincenzo played 37 minutes and Brook Lopez played 36 minutes. Each of these two guys also played the entire overtime, so when you take that out of the equation, Donte played 32 minutes and Brook played 31. These two guys are clearly a step down from the big three for Milwaukee, so it makes sense that they would play less minutes, but they were still in the game for 30 plus minutes, which is something that was a little bit rare for these two in the regular season, especially Donte DiVincenzo, who was usually much closer to the 26 to 29 minute range when it came to his minutes. So to see Coach Bud stick it out with his 5 best guys for most of this game was great to see, and I'm hopeful that he continues to do so, as I said before. Let's talk about the bench a little bit now. The Bucks played 4 guys off the bench. PJ Tucker got the most minutes, playing both the 3 and the 4, as he played 18. What was interesting with PJ is we saw Coach Bud go to a lineup in the fourth quarter. It was only for about 2 minutes, but that lineup had Giannis Antetokounmpo, PJ Tucker, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez all on the court at the same time. Those are 4 players that are usually considered to be a 3, 4, or 5. So to see the Bucks roll out that humongous lineup with Jrue Holiday playing the 1 was very interesting to see. And if Donte DiVincenzo struggles in this playoff series as we move forward, I think that PJ could get even more minutes, and that could potentially even be a closing lineup that we're looking at for the Bucks. Bobby Portis was the second biggest minute getter off the bench for Milwaukee, as he played 17 minutes. This was a complete inverse of Brook Lopez, as Brook played 36 of the 53 minutes. So when you add Bobby's 17 minutes onto that, these two guys played the entire game put together, which isn't super surprising, but for Bucks fans that were hoping to see large minute periods with Giannis Antetokounmpo playing the 5, they were probably a bit disappointed. However, Bobby performed better than I thought he would in yesterday's game. I thought that in the playoffs he would struggle defensively and his offense wouldn't carry over as well as it did in the regular season, but Bobby largely did a nice job, so I think that this 17-minute range and pretty much anywhere from 15 minutes all the way up to 20 minutes would be a suitable amount of minutes to play Bobby Portis. Bryn Forbes and Pat Connaughton, each of the smaller guys off the bench for Milwaukee, played 14 minutes in Forbes' case and 10 minutes in Connaughton's case. I think that this is roughly where we could have expected to see these two guys in terms of minutes. I thought that maybe Pat would get a little bit more than Bryn because of his defensive versatility. I was expecting Coach Bud to value that over Forbes' potential to get hot from beyond the arc, especially after Forbes struggled to start off the game, missing, I think, his first 3 three-point attempts. But Bud largely wrote it out with the stronger offensive player of the duo, and Bryn played more minutes than Pat. Forbes actually did do a nice job of attacking some closeouts as he got to the rim once for an and one, and on another occasion, this one at a pretty big juncture in the second half, Bryn was again able to attack the rim and get to the basket. So I think to see these two guys play around 24 minutes combined is something that we could see a lot moving forward. There's potential for that to fluctuate a little bit in terms of the individual minutes, as we could see Bryn creep up towards 16 minutes and Pat fall back towards 8, or it could go the other way around in a matchup where Coach Bud values Pat's defensive versatility more than he values Bryn's shooting. We could see Pat more in the 16-minute range and Bryn closer to the 8-minute range. But overall, I wouldn't expect these two very limited players to play much more than they did in today's game. Finally, I do want to touch on a sort of surprising DNP for the Bucks, as Jeff Teague never stepped onto the court for Milwaukee. I say somewhat surprising because, in my opinion, Teague probably shouldn't have even been in the Bucks rotation down the stretch run of the regular season. He had a really hard time on the defensive end of the court, and he looked lackadaisical in a lot of his efforts on defense. He had a hard time closing out on shooters, and he could be taken advantage of whenever the Bucks were in their switching screen by big wings on the opposing team. On offense, Teague took some ill-advised shots in the mid-range and sometimes would force up contested three-pointers, and he also was a bit more turnover-prone than you would like to see from someone who's supposed to be a reliable backup point guard. So while I think some Bucks fans were surprised to see Teague right out the game on the bench, it wasn't super shocking in my opinion. The closing lineup for the Bucks was the exact same as the starting lineup as they finished the game with Jrue Holiday, Donte DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez. I think that this was probably the right call because each of these guys provided a lot of value for the Bucks in this game. Holiday did a great job defensively and in transition. He also got to the basket in the half court a few times. Chris Middleton had it going with his jump shot and was the leading scorer for the team. Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't have his best game, but he did do a great job defensively and grabbed 18 rebounds overall. Brook Lopez provided a lot of value offensively and scored 18 points and grabbed 8 rebounds. And Donte DiVincenzo made a lot of huge hustle plays on the defensive end of the court. It would have been hard for me to really push for any of the Bucks bench players to have closed this game out ahead of one of the starters. So this makes a lot of sense to me, and I think that this is probably the lineup we'll see closing most games for Milwaukee as the playoffs go on. The one potential exception to that could be if Donte DiVincenzo struggles on offense, as he did today. We could see Coach Bud put in a player who also struggles on offense, but is a bit more reliable defensively in PJ Tucker. However, I think Donte offers more upside offensively with his shot creation abilities, and he's at least close to the level Tucker is at defensively. He's a bit better at making hustle plays, but isn't nearly as solid as an on-ball defender. So we could see PJ play more minutes in the place of DDV in those closing lineups. Alternatively, if Brook Lopez really struggles defensively, we could see Tucker close out games playing a small ball 4 with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the small ball 5, a bit more frequently. But I think that for the most part, what we saw last night is what we are going to get. So I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, so be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on Coach Bud's playoff rotation. Are you in agreement with me that he did a really nice job of running through the Bucks lineup? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, especially if you are a fellow Bucks believer. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.